Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, former county executive Doug Duncan says that the Montgomery County executive race is wide open. Last week, Governor Hogan proposed massive road improvements for the Maryland suburbs, and this week he slaps a lawsuit on President Trump over power plant emissions. What will he do next as the 2018 election cycle looms ahead? National focus on NFL players kneeling during the national anthem. Some question what they're protesting and its impact. Finally, President Trump offers a massive tax cut, but will the Chicken Little Republicans on Capitol Hill be capable of passing the tax reform bill? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by political strategist Susan Heltemus, consultant and business strategist Rich Parson, Republican activist Phil Bell, and back for a special guest appearance, multimedia consultant Jerry Cave. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. With the filing deadline several months away and with no clear front-runner, it's not surprising that interested politicians continue to express an interest in the race for Montgomery County executive. Of course, that is just on the Democratic Party side. The most recent entrants to have formally filed for the position have been Majority Leader of the House of Delegates, Bill Frick, and former Rockville Mayor, Rose Krasnow. Phil, there is only one lone Republican in the race, and that's Robin Ficker. Are we likely to see any others?
I don't think we are. I think Robin did a great job with getting the term limits through. I think he's put himself in a great position to represent our party. So I'm glad that he's there. Maybe somebody like Jim Shallot could come out of the woodwork, but right now I think Robin is going to be the guy.
Thank you, Phil. Rich, former county executive Doug Duncan views the race as wide open. Is that because of the number of candidates or the fact that no one has emerged as a frontrunner?
Well, I think it's because no one's really emerged as a front runner, and you've got three members of the county council who were, I think, doing such a great job. The voters voted almost 70% for term limits here in Montgomery County. So you had kind of a hungering, I think, for some fresh ideas, from some new perspectives. Bill Frick, Rose Krasnow getting in. There may be some others as well. There's a lot of rumors about other folks looking at this race. I don't think we know yet, Casey, what the field's going to look like. I think Doug's right. It is pretty wide open.
Susan, do you agree with Rich that the reason that that no one has emerged is because we're seeing some tired old faces that are running for office?
I think part of it is we have barely got over the fatigue of last year's elections, and I think that nothing is really going to happen till the first of the year. And I don't think Rose is definitely in the race yet, but she's thinking about it, and there are going to be others. And I think that there really isn't anything going on yet to let any of them make themselves stand out. We've had, I think, one debate. There's no literature going on. Some of them are better known than others, but once the new year comes, it's going to be bring it on, a real old-fashioned, mud fest.
Jerry, given the voting registration is so heavily favored toward the Democratic Party, have Republicans given up trying to win a county-wide race?
Most of them have, but Phil hit the nail right on the head because Robin Ficker is the only politician in either party in Montgomery County that's gotten something done. He got it done on taxes and he got it done on the term limits. Now, if you take a look at the Democrats that are running, their politics are more like Rocket Man in North Korea than a real politician. And as much of a character as Robin Ficker is, they pale by comparison. And I agree with Mr. Parsons over here. 70% of the people wanted the initiative that Robin Ficker, so if he can get them to look at the issues instead of the Rocket Man that the Democrats are going to pick, Robin Ficker is going to surprise people in this election.
I don't think so.
Here's what I find remarkable is that even during the one limited candidate interview, or if you want to call it a debate, they still those candidates still supported the idea that property taxes should be raised. They also support the idea that we need a higher minimum wage, and they seem to be running against the current of popular sentimentality. Rick?
Yeah, I think there's a lane kind of down the middle of the mainstream of the Democratic Party that has not been claimed yet, and I think that's what's the opportunity for someone to come into this primary and own that lane, and that will be your winner.
And stay tuned as to which candidates might come out in the weeks ahead.
Right. Terrific everybody, because I know that lots of people still are thinking about kicking that can and putting their hat in the ring. All right, last week, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan proposed a $9 billion project to widen Interstate 495, 270, the Baltimore-Washington Parkway. This week, the Hogan administration sued the EPA over its lax enforcement of power plant emissions from neighboring states. Phil, will the governor's proposal demonstrate that he's taking a leadership role on solving what many consider the #1 issue, traffic congestion?
Absolutely. And as somebody who took an hour plus to get here for a very short distance to go, I'm glad to see that he's doing it. That's something that's done very well in Virginia. It's going to make a big impact here. The big concern is going to be, and this is something we discuss all the time, to what extent will they go ahead and solve other problems, like when cars get off the highways, where are they going? How much delay is that going to create? That has to be addressed too, but this is a great first step, and I'm glad to see that it's happening.
Rich, are these election moves on the part of the governor another renewed effort to distance himself from President Trump?
Well, I don't know if it's that as much, Casey. I think is kind of, I would almost agree with Phil. There's a lot of details missing from this proposal. I think he's coming out with it because of two reasons. One, it is good politics to support transportation investment in this region. In fact, it's great politics to do that, no question. But it's also what we need. It's what experts have been recommending for years. My question is, why did it take him this long? I mean, people have been coming to him, transportation experts have been coming to this administration from the day they came into office saying, hey, you guys need to widen I-270. He's taken some baby steps in that direction, but it's been a little slow to come out with a bigger vision. Now he's done it, and I think Democrats are kind of responding in two different camps. Some are saying, hey, let's get more detail, let's figure out how to make it work, let's make it a bipartisan initiative, because a lot of Democrats support a lot of elements in this program. And others are saying, hey, wait, it's not all transit all the time, so we're against it. I think most Democrats are going to try to figure out, let's get some skin on these bones. Let's figure out how many lanes, how it's going to be configured, what kind of transit we're going to weave into this. How is it, right, is it going to be public, private? There's a lot of questions.
We got a couple other issues to go through. Susan, what I want to know is, when the governor sees his polling data slipping a little bit, are these efforts that he's making to try to recapture that popularity?
Absolutely, because traffic congestion is one thing that can push everybody off the ledge. However, what I found disappointing in this whole process, he did not communicate with the county council or the county executive, and when he announced it, none of them were there. And if he wants this to succeed,
these are the same 9 people that voted against even studying whether there should be a
Casey,
there should be a study.
Wait a minute, this is something.
Why have them?
Wait
Why
a
have them
minute,
there?
this is something tangible, and to have an announcement like that without having and this
So Susan, you don't like the form, but the substance is good. I think it would be much better to have a second beltway, which we've discussed. But you know what, Casey, you're not asking? I know Governor Hogan. He sincerely wants to do well for the state of Maryland. And
get reelected. Let's not forget that.
Which is also something that would do well for the state of Maryland. I think he sincerely wants to address the problem.
There's one big matter of context here. 6 years ago, this region did a study of our current plans and found if we built everything in the plan, traffic at 72% worse than it is today. Since then, Virginia's responded by adding $3.5 billion in new projects to that plan. D.C. has added $350 million in new projects to that plan. Montgomery County has added $0 to that new plan. The governor's just put $9 billion on the table, and it's worth a look.
You mean Montgomery County?
He's going all in on transportation.
Well, Maryland has
We'll
put
find
zero.
out how it plays out. When we come back from this short break, what impact will the ongoing Take the Knee protests have? And the president proposes major changes to the tax code. But will Congress, or can Congress, implement those changes? Stay tuned to find out. And welcome back. In the fall of 2016, when backup quarterback Colin Kaepernick symbolically took a knee during the playing of the national anthem and expressed his support for the Black Lives Matter movement, to many it appeared to be an isolated event. A year later, the movement has gained new life when President Trump advocated that those players that protested during the national anthem should be fired. In response, multiple teams demonstrated in reaction to the president's comments this past weekend. Rich, since each team approached the issue differently, some as a team, even with the owner involved, and each player expressed a different perspective, what was being protested last weekend?
Well, I think you hit it about right, Casey. There were a lot of different things, I think, on different players' minds in this. I don't think it was any one thing. I think it started out really focusing on racial injustice in this country, which I think the Trump administration has fed a lot of gasoline on that fire. But I think it's morphed more into a lot of people saying this is about free speech. Freedom of speech includes standing up or sitting down or whatever you choose to do during the national anthem.
You can't come on this show and say anything you want to.
But you do have a right under the First Amendment to either stand up or not, or cover your heart or not, or salute or not to the national anthem. Your constitutional right to make that choice on your own.
Hold on, guys. I want to go to Susan. Susan, many felt that Kaepernick's actions were disrespectful to the anthem and the flag and support President Trump's view that the protesters should be fired. What do you think?
When the president calls people bad words, and Kaepernick's mother came out and said, well, then I am the ultimate mother. He called them sons of bitches. That's why he referred to Kaepernick.
No, Trump didn't refer to Kaepernick at all.
He said to his mother, they're sons of bitches. And Mrs. Kaepernick said, then I'm the ultimate bitch. But the thing is, he has this habit of getting upset about things that are totally unrelated to cover up what's going on bad in the background. 70% of football players are African Americans.
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with standing up or not standing up?
He is adding fuel to the fire. Well, according to Justice Alito, we have freedom of speech when it comes to the flag, even if it means burning it. And Justice Alito always defended that.
I'm going to Jerry on this because I have a set question for him. Jerry, the NF rule book provides, it's a private workplace, that players will stand during the national anthem, they will hold their helmet on their right hip, and they will not talk during the national anthem. They will sing or be quiet. Why hasn't the league enforced its own rules?
That's on page 62, and the owners are afraid they'll be called racist, which is the worst thing that can happen. Do you know what we've had in Baltimore in the last 30 days? Someone murdered every day for the last 30 days. In New Orleans, it's every other day for the first 6 months. That's the problem in the black minority community, and by emasculating the police, you're going to have more of those murders, which is what we've had since this whole Black Lives Matter has come up. And everybody's worried about the form, and they're not. You want to talk about a cover-up? They're covering up with this stupid distraction, the incompetence by Democratic mayors to stop the murders in the inner city black population. Just because you're poor does not mean you should be at risk of your life, which is what's going on.
What does that have to do with football?
It has everything to do with what's going on.
You know what?
Because this is supposed to be about police brutality,
I want to go to Phil now.
And it's a lie.
Phil, many say that the symbolism of taking a knee won't cure the injustices any more than wearing pink will cure breast cancer. So if the players really want to effectuate change, shouldn't they just all quit their jobs and become community organizers?
Absolutely.
Maybe they can get elected president.
Yeah, well, yeah, right, absolutely right. First of all, if I was an NFL owner, I don't care who you were, even if you were my favorite quarterback, Vinny Testaverde, if you did this, I would fire you, just like the president said. Secondly,
yeah, sure.
all of these guys who, it's really interesting, they had no problem getting their endorsements, being in the nightclubs and the rap videos, everything else. There was never any injustice then. But suddenly now there's some injustice they have to kneel down for. It's totally unacceptable. It's virtue signaling. It needs to end. And honestly, it's taken away from my enjoyment of what I used to like to do on Sunday. So I'm glad to see they're taking heat. But Susan,
I must say that for the first time ever, I have great respect for Dan Snyder because he and the whole front office were there supporting the team. And he said, you do what you want. And as Justice Alito says, it's free speech.
Wait, you said do what you want. When you had a player.
We're unfortunately out of time for our segment. We're going to go talk about
this won't go away.
No, it won't go away. We'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about it because you're confusing free speech in the right of the workplace. President Trump announced a broad and wide sweeping changes to the tax plan. Some say it's a $9 trillion change. That may take some time to digest, but here are some of the bullet points. The standard deduction is going to increase for all Americans. The number of tax brackets will decrease, and in most instances be lowered. The marriage penalty will be eliminated, and corporate taxes will be lowered. Reflexively, Republicans and Democrats rushed to their corners, trotted out the usual and expected hyperbole, how awful it is for the poor, and it's only for the rich, yada, yada, yada. But the real issue is whether or not the Congress will be able to pass tax reform legislation. Susan, I'm sure the proposals aren't anything that you like, but we are, and will it be passed?
Well, late this afternoon, and I have it right in front of me, a nonpartisan tax expert group came out, and there are some really alarming results as far as I'm concerned. For
Susan,
instance,
will it be passed?
well, I hope not. 1 in 4 households will be paying more taxes, and 80% of the tax benefits would go to the top 1%. That isn't what I call a big tax break. People in the bottom 5 will get back an extra $50 a year. If you are in the
Susan,
top 1%.
I have a question for you. The 1% that you're so adamantly opposed to, how much of the taxes do they pay?
In the case
Zero.
of Donald Trump,
No,
probably
wait,
none.
No, how much do they pay?
They pay a lot.
They pay 50%.
But there are
50% of
those
the
who
income
say
tax.
that they
Jerry.
should pay it.
Well, okay. And there's those that say they should pay, everybody should pay the same thing. Jerry, what do you think
No.
of this proposal?
Something will pass. It's a lot different than health care, so something will pass. The thing I like the most is that it's going to reduce taxes on business, which is going to create jobs, which I think is the most important thing. I wish that it had gone further. I wish it made the tax code a lot simpler. I wish they were cutting a lot more spending, but this is a step in the right direction. I wish it was more aggressive and more creative.
Phil, you're the third person up. Who do you agree with?
Well, I agree with Jerry, something will pass, but I also think, number one, we absolutely need to make all of the business taxes even lower. The president wanted 15%. We got 20 for large corporations and 25 for your subchapter S, and it should be lower than that for them. And secondly, we need to do more for the wealthy. You know what? The 1%, they need more, because the fact is, if I get an extra $50 or $5,000, I can't create a job. Trust me, if I could, I would. So we need those who can get another $5 million or $5 billion so they can create more jobs so we can earn more and start our own businesses and be successful. That's how economics work, and Democrats forget it.
Rich,
Right.
where do you
You're
come
right,
out
it
on this?
Well, I
It
come out.
does.
I am not confident something's going to pass, and that's probably a good thing for those who used to call themselves conservatives, who cared about this little thing we used to call the deficit, which this particular proposal blows a huge multi-billion-dollar hole in. So, multi-trillion-dollar hole, I should say.
How does it do
so,
that?
because so far, what the analysis has shown, I think a $1.5 trillion widening of the deficit because of this proposal, because the tax cuts are not matched with any kind of balance. So even when you do all your dynamic scoring about jobs you think might be created, this is going to cost the Treasury a big hit and drive us further into debt. So I think we'll wait and see what the proposals emerge as, but right now I don't think Congress is going to be able to get their heads around that, and I think we're headed for yet another
They cut
episode of
tax- They
gridlock.
cut taxes and they spur the economy. They get more.
It didn't
It
work
happened.
under
Yeah, it
It
didn't
didn't
Ronald
work under Reagan.
It
He
didn't
blew a
work under
huge.
Reagan.
He had
It
a.
worked
he-
under
he-
Kennedy.
no one
It
added
happened
more
under
debt
Reagan.
no one added more to the
He
deficit
won
to
the
this country
Cold
than
War
Ronald
with
Reagan.
No,
it.
actually, it
I'll
was
spend
Tip
money
O'Neill.
instead of
True.
blood any day.
Richard, it was Tip O'Neill and whoever you all had running the Senate at the
Oh,
time who added all of that
and
money.
you
to the
gloss
deficit.
over
It was.
Republican control
Because
of the
you can
of the
look,
Congress.
Gentlemen, ladies
try
and
winning
gentlemen,
the
I want
Cold
to,
War.
Yeah.
here's what I'm concerned about.
We did.
That the president came out today and undercut his entire proposal
Because he doesn't know what it is.
by saying
Right.
we're going to allow Congress to create even more tax brackets. So I mean, I am so astonished so I would hope that there are.
This is
there
the
are
gang
cooler
who couldn't
hands.
shoot straight. It's a
Congress.
Yeah,
it's
the
a
stock
president
market's
who's
up,
incompetent in
unemployment's
dealing with
Jerry and
Congress.
Rich, thank you so much. We're got to go to our last break, and coming up is parting shots. Welcome back, and now with parting shots, Susan Heltmas.
This afternoon was an interesting time. I had a little bit of time and turned on the television. I heard the inhabitant of the White House saying, "We're doing a great job in Puerto Rico. Absolutely great. We're getting all these kudos. It's great." Then I saw an actual chart comparing what was done during the Haitian earthquake and this hurricane, and it was abysmal. There are 30,000 boots on the ground, 5,000 here. Back then, the White House sent the future chief of staff, Mr. McDonough, down to organize it. Shortly after he spoke, the mayor of San Juan came out and she was crying. She said, morgues are overfilled with bodies. We don't have water. We don't have ice. We don't have anything. Puerto Rico has more people than 21 states in the United States. They are Americans. Donald Trump, get your act together. People are dying. This could be your Katrina.
Thank you, Susan. Rich Parsons, your parting shot.
Well, I'm going to turn to the local stage. There are two of our local Montgomery County Council members who are celebrating birthdays this week. So I just wanted to give a shout out and a happy birthday to Craig Rice and Nancy Florine, both of whom I think are doing a good job on the county council, and I wish them well on their birthday week.
Thank you. Phil Bell, your parting shot.
Well, today I'm wearing a red shirt, and the red shirt is in honor of Railroad Safety Week. Every year we have thousands of people who get killed with unfortunate interactions with trains. Stay off the tracks, stay safe when you're nearby. Trains are your friend, but don't get too close.
And Jerry Cave, your parting shot.
Well, my family lived there since the 1600s. I moved to New Orleans. I got something to report. Someone said, what's the difference between Washington and New Orleans? I said, everything. There's no traffic. Everything's 12 minutes away. Everybody talks to each other. Was at a party for 3 or 4 hours. Talked to one of my neighbors there. And I did in 20 years here. And they said, and I said, the one thing nobody asks you in New Orleans is what you do for a living, because they don't care. If you're fun, that's all they care about. So let me leave you with this one statement. And thank you for having me back on the show, my brother. Laissez le bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. Come down to New Orleans and see us.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Thank
Got
you,
a
Pam.
new accent.
Yeah.
Woo!
When in
I'm
Rome.
liking it.
So, just as we are ending September, we're entering the month of October. And what is the most important thing in October?
Halloween.
Baseball playoffs, the World Series.
Red Sox, baby.
And guess what? Our own Nationals, they're number one in their division. They're going to play the World Series champs, the Cubs, in the first round of the playoffs. And won't that be sweet? Revenge is sweet when served cold. And I'm sure that our starting pitching rotation of Scherzer, Strasburg, and Gonzalez is going to take the bats out of the Cubbies' hands and is going to do a wonderful job leading us to victory. And I don't care if Bryce Harper hits a home run. Just his presence alone on the ball field is enough to give inspiration to the rest of the 8 bats in the lineup. So I am looking forward to my first World Series. I've had 2 baseball teams in my lifetime leave Washington, D.C. The Minnesota Twins and the Texas Rangers used to be Washington Senators. So when the Washington Nationals are crowned with that World Series championship, I am going to celebrate like it's 2000. Oh, 1999. Wasn't that the name of the song?
You're
like
on a
it's
roll.
like it's 1999. So for everybody here, I want to thank you, the panel, for being here. You can see the passion and the division that we all have, but we're going to find a solution to some of these problems. Thank you for the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.